If your yard edge looks fuzzy no matter how often you mow, the tool is usually the problem, not you. I went through real Amazon listings, real spec sheets, and real buyer feedback to find 7 edging tools that are actually worth your money, from cheap hand tools all the way up to battery-powered systems. Some of these will surprise you. Let's start with the weakest and work our way up. Number 7 is the CKLT one-piece 41-inch border edger, and it's the one I'd steer you away from first. On paper, it looks solid. A serrated spring steel blade, a manganese steel shaft that needs no assembly, an 8-inch footplate for leverage, and a rubber grip handle, all for somewhere around $24 to $28 depending on the day you check. Spring steel is a real material choice too. It resists bending better than the cheap stamped steel you'll find on some competitors. Here's the honest problem. A review breakdown of this exact listing found that roughly 13% of buyers left 1 or 2-star reviews, with another 9% landing at 3 stars, and the complaints cluster around a specific issue. The handle rattles and feels loose even after you tighten the screws, which makes the whole tool wobble while you're using it. Buyers also describe the blade as thinner and flimsier than expected, struggling once it hits hard soil, clay, or root systems, and several mention the edge going dull faster than they'd like. None of that makes this a dangerous tool, it's just an inconsistent one. If your soil is soft and you're doing light touch-up work twice a year, it'll probably get the job done. If you've got clay or a neglected edge with real roots in it, this is going to fight you the whole way, and that's not a great way to spend an afternoon. Number 6 is the Walensee wheel rotary edger, and this is a genuinely different design than the half-moon edgers we just covered. Instead of stepping down on a blade, you push this one along the ground on a wheel, with chrome-plated alloy steel blades doing the cutting as you walk. The handle telescopes to 3 heights, 40, almost 55, and almost 70 inches, so you can actually stand upright the whole time instead of hunching over, and it's priced around $44. A 2.4-inch wide roller is built in specifically to keep the tool stable on uneven ground instead of catching and tipping. A review summary pulled from this exact listing describes buyer reaction as mixed but generally positive. People like that it trims cleanly along concrete and brick, and they call out the sturdy build and the adjustable handle as real positives, especially for taller users. The honest catch is effort, not quality. That same feedback specifically warns that this tool takes real physical work on the first pass through anything overgrown or dense-rooted, and it's not the right pick if your lawn edge has gotten seriously neglected. If you're doing routine upkeep on an edge that's already reasonably under control, the wheel design is genuinely easier on your back than a step-down edger. If you're starting from scratch on a jungle, you'll feel it in your arms. Number 5 is the Garden Weasel Edger Chopper, model 9T1714. And this is where brand reputation starts actually meaning something. Garden Weasel backs this with a lifetime guarantee against manufacturing defects, which is a meaningfully stronger promise than most of the tools ranked below it. It's built around an 8-inch tempered steel blade with a channeled design that's specifically meant to make pulling the blade back out of the soil easier, not just pushing it in, plus an extra-wide footplate with slip-resistant treads and a T-grip handle, all at a lightweight 3.5 pounds. On Amazon, this exact listing sits at 4.5 stars across 919 global ratings, which is a solid, meaningful sample size for a hand tool in this category. Here's the one thing worth flagging before you click buy. Garden Weasel sells this edger chopper under several closely related listings and model numbers, at different prices, so you genuinely need to double-check you're ordering the long-handle 91714 version referenced here, and not a shorter or bundled variant that looks nearly identical on the page. That's not a knock on the tool itself, it's just a read-before-you-click situation. The same kind of mix-up that trips people up with a lot of manual edgers on Amazon. If you land on the right listing, this is one of the more trusted names in this whole category, and the review volume backs that up. Number 4 is the AMES 29720 Sawtooth Border Edger, 39 inches, and this is the most reviewed manual edger on this entire list by a wide margin. On Amazon, it holds 4.6 stars across just over 5,000 global ratings, which is an enormous sample size for a hand tool and gives its track record real statistical weight compared to newer listings with a few hundred reviews or less. It's built with a 15-gauge serrated steel blade measuring about 8 7/8 inches wide, mounted on a T-grip handle with a footplate for leverage, and it's designed to cut both straight lines and curves without switching tools. Pricing moves around with sales. It's been seen as low as $21.55, and as high as roughly $31 at regular price, so it's worth a quick price history check before you buy. The honest catch here is really more of a non-catch. There's nothing exotic about this tool. No wheel, no power source, no gimmick. It's just a well-built serrated blade that a huge number of people have used without major complaints showing up at scale. If you want the safest bet in the manual category, backed by the deepest review history on this list, this is genuinely it. Number 3 is the WORX WG896, a 12-amp corded electric edger and trencher, and this is where power tools take over. The 12-amp motor spins a 7.5-inch blade at 4,700 RPM, with 3 depth settings at 1, 1.25, and 1.5 inches, letting you switch between a clean surface edge and a deeper trench for irrigation line or landscape edging. On Amazon, it's sitting at 4.3 stars across more than 10,000 ratings. List price is $119.99, though it regularly goes on sale in the $65 to $70 range. It requires an extension cord to run, since it only ships with a built-in 1-foot cord, so factor that into your setup if your yard is any real distance from an outlet. The honest catch, and it's a small one, at least one verified Best Buy reviewer specifically called out that the printed instructions for raising and lowering the cutting blade were unclear out of the box, even though they still ended up happy with the tool's actual performance once they figured it out. That's a documentation problem, not a build quality problem, and it's the kind of thing a 2-minute video search fixes permanently. If you want real power without going cordless yet, and you've got an outlet within reach, this is a legitimately strong step up from every manual tool on this list. Number 2 is the Black & Decker LE760FF, a 12-amp 2-in-1 landscape edger and trencher, and this is the most feature-complete corded tool here. It runs a high-torque 12-amp motor through a 7.5-inch blade that's 3/16 of an inch thick, with 3 blade depth positions and a pull-up edge guide that helps you keep a straight line without eyeballing it the whole way. On Amazon, this exact listing holds 4.5 stars across 3,661 global ratings, and it typically runs around $97 to $98 depending on which seller you land on. It converts between edging and trenching modes without tools, and there's an access door on the blade guard specifically, so cleanup doesn't turn into a 10-minute disassembly project every time. The honest trade-off here is really just price relative to the WORX just below it on this list. You're paying roughly $30 more for broadly similar core specs, a 12-amp motor and a 7.5-inch blade either way. So the real question is whether the pull-up edge guide and the tool-free mode switch are worth that gap to you personally. For anyone doing both regular edging and the occasional trenching job, like running low-voltage lighting wire along a walkway, this is the more purpose-built of the two. Before we get to the final two, here's something worth knowing. Neither of these is the cheapest tool on this list, and one of them isn't even really a single tool. It's a system. Let's finish this out. Number 1 is the Greenworks 60V 8-inch brushless cordless edger, and this is where cordless power actually starts to look like a real alternative to gas. It runs on Greenworks' 60-volt battery platform, powering a brushless motor through an 8-inch steel blade with tool-free depth adjustment, and it ships with a 2.0 amp-hour battery and charger for around $190 to $210 depending on current sales. Independent testing measured the blade spinning at 7,000 RPM with a noise level of 74 decibels at full speed, and found it performs roughly in line with a 30cc class gas edger while running quieter. Worth flagging, honestly. Greenworks' own marketing describes this motor as equivalent to a 22cc gas engine in one place and a 27cc gas engine in another official spec sheet, so treat the exact gas equivalent number as a rough comparison rather than a precise figure. The brand itself isn't fully consistent on it. There's a similar small inconsistency on cutting depth, with one source citing a maximum depth of 1.75 inches, and Greenworks' own FAQ citing up to 4 inches depending on curb height, so don't lock in on either number without checking the depth on your own driveway edge first. What isn't in question is the battery. 60 minutes of runtime per charge, a 50-minute recharge time, and compatibility with over 75 other Greenworks 60V tools if you're already in that ecosystem or planning to be. If you want real cutting power with zero gas, zero cord, and a battery you might already own, this is the strongest cordless option on this entire list. So here's how I'd sort all of this by what you actually need. If you want the cheapest tool with the deepest track record behind it, The AMES 2917-200 has over 5,000 ratings backing it up, and it's often under $25. If you want a no-frills tool built by a brand that's been making yard equipment for decades, the Fiskars 38.5-inch edger and its lifetime warranty is the safe, boring, reliable choice. If your yard edge has gotten seriously overgrown and you want real cutting power without going cordless, the WORX WG896 or the Black & Decker LE760FF will outperform anything you push by hand. If you want cordless power with real torque behind it, the Greenworks 60V edger is the strongest battery option here. And if you're thinking beyond just edging, toward trimming, and possibly more tools down the line, the EGO multi-head system is the one purchase on this list that keeps paying off well after today. If this saved you from buying the wrong edger, subscribe for more real, spec-checked buying guides like this one, and drop a comment telling me which of these you're actually considering. I read every single one.